I'm back at the government cut, Portage Canal in Jefferson County, a place where there are known to be really large sea-run cutthroat trout. And I fished here many times before, and I caught, biggest fish I've caught has been 15 inches a couple of years ago. And other than that, I haven't been very lucky. I did catch some coho here last year, but I'm still waiting for that elusive big cutthroat. So today it's going on towards low tide. There's 3 hours until the low, and it's really been a rare opportunity to get out and fish. It's been blowing a hoolie the last couple of days. We've been under a wind advisory and it's been raining, so this morning is calm, and I thought I would give it a try. This place tends to fish pretty good at low water, so we'll see. As always, there's a ton of current there. It doesn't look like there's too much weed yet. So I'm going to be trying a new little jig baitfish pattern that I made up. I tied 3 or 4 of these. Haven't even given it a name yet. I'm hoping it's going to kind of imitate all the many little silvery baitfish that you tend to see around this time of year, little herring and anchovies and things. So that's what I'm going to try. I was wrong about the weed. I can see just a ton of it right just underneath the surface. That could be a problem. Well, I've seen 3 or 4 fish jump so far. Still early days, so there are some fish around. And the other good thing is that that weed is pretty much cleared out. It was actually being carried in from a beach pool behind me by some current that was flowing into the main cut. And since the tides dropped, that pool is no longer spilling its contents in, and most of the weed has disappeared. That's how this little fly looks when it's wet. Pretty nice, I think. So this little baitfish jig pattern is built with a tungsten bead, which means that it kind of drops from the air behind me, this like a high-ish bank, and so I've lost a couple of them already. I'm down to 2. I like the way they're fishing, but I must say I've never been a big fan of tungsten. Once had a very precious sage rod. It was great sentimental value. I'd won it in a charity auction years ago, and I was fishing a beadhead fly, a tungsten bead fly, on a windy day, and the fly just hit the tip of the rod, and when I got back to the car I was taking the rod down, and right where the tungsten bead had hit it, the rod just broke. So I took it back to Sage. I lived at the time on Bainbridge Island, so it was kind of local, and they replaced the tip section. And no more than a week later, I took that rod with me again as a spare, and some kids, I think it was, just stole it right from under my nose, basically, on the beach. And so, yeah, I've always had like this feeling about tungsten beads. Fish on. Okay. On the new fly. Feels pretty nice. Oh yeah. Strong little fish. Come on. Oh boy. Well, I'll count that as a win. You guys will give me that one, right? So yeah, I got that on this this fly. I think I've got a name for it, but I will not reveal it yet. So awesome. So I think I'm going to call my new fly the Bobby Dazzler. And Bobby Dazzler is a very old-fashioned phrase that comes from the northeast of England where I was born. And if, for instance, you know, you got a shiny new bike for Christmas, your uncle might say to you, "Hey, that's a right Bobby Dazzler you got there, lad." So yeah, that's what I'm going to call it, Bobby Dazzler. Two oyster catchers just flew over. There they go. Hear them squealing. Oh yeah. I think this one is a coho, yeah. Oh, he's gone. Oh well. So about 45 minutes from low tide now. The water is really skinny. That side of me I can't really fish because the kelp is all the way up to the surface of the water, and what current there is just kind of starting to back up the other way. So 2 fish hooked on the Bobby Dazzler. Yet to get one into the net, but I'm okay with that. Self-releasing, you know. Whoops. So the fish I just lost looked very silvery and was quite big, so I am assuming it was a coho. Now it's still, as I'm here fishing, it is still the first week of June, which is way too early for that to have been a salmon that was returning from the ocean. It's more likely to be just a resident. Still wouldn't expect to be catching very many resident coho up until like next month, which is something I'm looking forward to, obviously, but yeah, it's kind of early. Okay folks, well, it's now low tide, and unfortunately I've got a fairly serious wind against current situation, which means effectively I can't make my flies go in the direction I need them to go. So it's time to call it quits for this morning. What I'll do is I'll go home, and at some stage I'll make a tutorial video to show you how to tie that thing, because I think it's quite good, and I'm certainly going to be fishing it some more. So today was a taste of things to come. Next month the coho salmon are going to come in, and I am looking forward to it so much. All the very best to everyone. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye. So this is the fly you just saw me fishing earlier in the video, and I'm calling it the Bobby Dazzler. Now there's definitely nothing that's groundbreaking about it. It's just a simple jig style small baitfish pattern made with easy to source materials. To get started, I'm going to place a barbless jig hook in the vise, and the hook I'm using is from Mustad, and it's the J60 XAP. This is the pack they come in. It's a size 8, and it's got the corrosion resistant Titan X coating, so it should be okay in salt water. I've already put on a 4mm slotted tungsten bead. The thread choice is up to you. I'm using Uni 6/0 in white. I like to use the heavier thread because I've got to quickly build up a head that I'll be making later. So I'll start the thread behind the bead and just lay down a base back to where the barb would have been. The tail of the fly is made from supreme hair, which is also called super hair depending on where you get it from. This is labelled as white, but it's actually pretty translucent. I do like this material in tails because it moves pretty well, but it rarely fouls the hook. Now, one drawback with it is that the fibres are uniformly thick, so you need to pull out some of those fibres to create a bit of a taper. Just cut off some of those loose ends. I'm going to tie this in so that my tail will be just a little bit longer than the hook length. I'm going to secure it in place with just a few wraps, like so. And then I'll trim that hair a couple of millimeters behind the head, or behind the bead. I'm going to put in a little bit of flash And this is Lateral Scale from the Flashabou people. And this one is the micro version, which is just 1/69th of an inch wide. It's pearl opalescent and it's got a crimp finish. I'm taking a single strand and I'll cut that in half. If you moisten the strands, they're easy to keep together. I'll tie those in alongside my side first, right along the center line, and bring them around and tie them in along your side. Trim those to the length of the tail. I think I'll just work a little bit more on helping to create that taper. That's okay. Now the back 2/3 of the body is dubbed with ice dub in minnow belly. I'm going to make a fairly generous dubbing noodle from this. And I'm going to apply it quite loosely, as eventually this is all going to be brushed out. That's enough of the minnow belly. And the front third is going to be this Sealex Ice Rogue Red, which just was the brightest red dubbing that I had. And it's intended to look like the gills. I'm sure just regular red ice dub would work. And when I wind this on, I'm going to make sure not to cover that 2 mil gap behind the bead. So I'll just tidy that area up. This is where the eyes are going to go. Now I'm going to brush out that dubbing on all sides. And then I'm going to roll it back between my fingers to blend the minnow belly dubbing into the tail and bleed the red into the back part of the body. Just give it a little brush. And that looks fine. I'm going to veil the body with a mallard flank feather tied like a soft hackle. This is a bag of mallard flank feathers I got on eBay for $3.74. I was really pleased with this. Virtually every feather is usable and the quality is outstanding. So I've selected a nicely marked feather and removed the fluff from the base. I'll isolate the tip with my fingers and sweep back all the remaining barbs. Now I'm going to cut off the tip, leaving just a small tie-in point. Now with the convex side pointing up, I'll tie in the tip. Now I need to get a better grip on that feather. That's better. Make sure that tip is well tied in. Now sweep the barbs back towards the tail and carefully wrap the feather. The stem's going to want to twist on you, so you have to continually check how it's laying as you wrap one turn in front of the last one. And I'm going to continue until I've used up all the barbs. If you haven't done this before, it can be a little tricky, so you just have to take your time. Now I can tie off and remove the stem. Now usually you're going to find some of the barbs are going to be twisty at this point, and the best way to correct this is with a hairdryer. And I've got it turned up to high heat. It's going to relax and untwist the feather, leaving the natural curve. I learned this trick from Davey McPhail. Now I haven't used the hairdryer for its intended purpose since about 1978. So you can see that has got a nice baitfish shape now. So I'm going to build up the thread behind the bead, both to secure it in place and to form a platform for the eyes. Just put in a whip finish. Then remove my tying thread. I'm using flat stick-on eyes in the smallest size I could find. These are 2mm glow-in-the-dark ones from Feathercraft. Now I usually hold these in place with gel superglue, but for the purpose of this video I'm going to use a thick UV resin so I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. Getting these eyes on tends to be the hardest part of the whole fly. There's just room for them. There we go. Now I'm going to coat the whole area with a thin UV resin. Just put some between the eyes, top and bottom. I've dislodged one of them. That's fixed it. I like to put a thin coat of Sally Hansen's on top of the cured UV resin, just to protect it from salt water. And that's the Bobby Dazzler. Do let me know what you think, and as always, thank you very much for watching.